All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the virtual information session on our Master's in Speech Language Pathology. My name is Tom Kresh. I'm their Director of Graduate Admissions. I appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy schedule to join us tonight. Whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, again, I think this is a great opportunity for you to learn more about your opportunities in our graduate program. I am joined by Dr. Scarpino. Dr. Scarpino, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Shelley Scarpino. I'm the Director of Clinical Education and the coordinator for the graduate program in Speech Language Pathology. So I'm pretty much the advisor. And as far as admissions go, I would be the person that you'd be talking to as you were coming into the program and getting you set up and everything.
The lead singer for the master's program in speech language pathology,
Yeah.
right? The event should take probably around 30 or 40 minutes. We have an excellent presentation that Dr. Scarpino had prepared, and then we'll open it up to a Q&A afterwards. Again, this is being recorded, and if you're watching the recording, if anybody has any questions after watching, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are happy to help in any way. But Dr. Scarpino, I will go ahead and turn it over to you to go through the presentation.
Sure. Okay. I just want to give a shout out to our student here, Tori, on this picture that she was a recent graduate, and this is her standing in front of Hershey Medical Center where she got to do her externship. So one of the nice things about our program is that our students get to go to most of the larger hospitals in the state. We have good relationships with them. So we're happy to be able to place our students at some of these nice bigger trauma centers, rehab hospitals. And so she was super excited. This was her first choice, and she got her first choice in terms of her externship placement. So, okay. Oops, there we go. So since the 1960s, we've had a accredited program in speech language pathology. So we prepare both undergraduate and graduate students. Speech language pathology, as you probably are aware, because you're here and you're interested in attending graduate schools, it is a sought after career. So there are plenty of jobs. And we, in particular, have our graduates going to all different sites after they graduate. We have alumni who are employed in medical centers, as I said, rehab centers, public schools, private schools. They're in private practice, and just long-term care facilities, home health. So the nice thing about this profession, as you probably already know, is that there are just lots of opportunities once you graduate. And when you come through our program, you're pretty much prepared to work at any one of those sites. We offer opportunities to work in schools, and we'll talk about the certifications that we offer for working in a school and also working at any of the medical centers, as I mentioned.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's important about that is, the reputation of the program, right? So that might not mean a ton right now, but when you're applying for jobs, when you're getting ready to graduate, oftentimes the reputation of the CU-Bloomsburg program will precede you, right? So there are a number of employers, there are a number of organizations that they are looking for Bloomsburg graduates, right? That works to your advantage as a soon-to-be graduate if this is where you decide to apply to and come to. And again, having had this program here for a long time, this is a tentpole program for Bloomsburg, right? So we've invested a lot of time and effort and money into labs and facilities and into adjacent programs. So there's a lot to offer here to a prospective grad student for speech language pathology.
Sure, and I think because we have been accredited for so long, we have a very large alumni pool out there, and they seek our graduates too. So it's kind of like a nice family, so to speak. So when we call and say, hey, we're looking for student placements, they're like, yeah, or somebody's looking for somebody to hire, they're emailing me and asking if we have any recent graduates who need a job, because they know of our excellent reputation, but a lot of them have been through our program themselves because of how long we've been accredited. We have a lot of alumni that kind of come back and look for our graduates to hire. And so, yeah, we're fortunate in that way. So again, we have an excellent reputation. You're going to gain valuable clinic experience in 2 ways through our program, actually 3. But starting with the first semester, you get experience in our in-house clinic. So we do have a clinic that's housed on the 3rd floor of Centennial Hall. And in that clinic, we see adults and children all the way, our youngest clients, I think, are 2. And we have clients who go all the way up into their 80s. So, you get experience there in our in-house clinic, and we do bill insurances and things. So you get experience with all of that. And then we also have a contract with a local school district where we have our supervisors placed in that school district. So our students go there and they get experience in that school, but they're actually being taught and instructed by our own supervisors there. So you'll get clinic experience, you'll get school experience. And then we do have on the 3rd floor also one of the intermediate units, which is an organization that provides services for school districts. So in this case, it's a preschool classroom for children in Columbia County. And we loan them space on our 3rd floor to have a preschool right here. And the agreement is that they have their preschool here with free rental space and with free space. And we are allowed to have students in that classroom. So we have a teacher there who is a speech language pathologist, but she's the teacher of the classroom. And there are several children who are preschool age, and our students get to go in there and work directly with those kiddos too. So 3 kind of in-house opportunities for clinic experiences. And then of course we have the externship experience where you go out and you could work, you could do your gain clinical experiences and hours in clinic, hospital, or school, or I should say, and a school. So our students are going out getting both experiences. They're getting student teaching experience in a school for 12 weeks, and then they're getting 10 weeks in a hospital. As I said, we do insurance billing, and we also use electronic medical records. So it's very similar to what you would be doing if you go out once you get a job and you're working in a hospital. So our students are very well set up to understand what it's like to be able to, bill insurances, to kind of respond to questions from insurance companies about progress, and how to write SOAP notes or your clinic notes, so that it's very clear to insurance companies that our clients are making progress, and that we are, doing our due diligence to do all of our documentation that they require. As I said, you do get experience in the schools as well. So you can do individualized education program or IEP evaluations. You get to sit in on some of those meetings and certainly do the documentation for that. The other nice thing about our program is that our classes are taught by PhD level faculty who also are either currently or have done clinical experience, and also we do research in the field. So you're kind of getting the best of both. We're not really known to be a research institution like an R1, research center where you have, the majority of the work being done by faculty is research, and they might teach one class. We are kind of doing, research at the same time that we're teaching. So it kind of allows us to bring into the classes the research that we're currently working on. And again, as I said, we have years of clinical practice behind us as well. So I myself have worked in early intervention, in schools, I've worked in a rehab hospital, I've worked in an acute care hospital, home health, long-term care. So I can, certainly infuse a lot of that information into my courses, and students feel very comfortable coming and talking to me about maybe career choices and options and things like that, because the faculty have actually done the work too that we're talking about. And the other great thing is we have a 99% employment rate, which the only reason it's not 100% is just that we have a student in I think this is from our very last year of graduation. And one student hadn't yet really pursued getting a job. She was kind of taking some time off before she actually went out and looked. So it's not that our students, some of them are not employed. Believe me, you will have multiple offers for jobs once you graduate, which is the nice thing about the field and the great thing about the Bloomsburg program. Well,
And this is, and I'm sorry, Dr. Scarpino, but
go ahead.
this is a good investment, right? So you're giving up an additional 2 years. You're going back to grad school, and we'll talk about the investment in a graduate degree here shortly, but this is a good investment. You know you're going to get a job. You know, as long as you put the work in, you're going to finish, right? You're going to have, a very marketable resume. So in terms of the return on investment, a master's in SLP from Bloomsburg, the return on investment is going to be very high, and you're going to be in high demand.
Right. Yes, high demand is right. I get phone calls often, or I get emails. Are you looking for a job? Do you want a job as a speech pathologist? So they get your name off of the ASHA website off the ASHA list, and they just call. And so very few people can say that they're actually recruited for jobs. Most people are having to go looking. Our program. So our program is taught, even though we have 2 other programs associated in the Commonwealth. All of our courses for the graduate level are taught at the Bloomsburg campus, and they are on campus. We do have one course that is currently offered online, so we'll look at that when we get into the course sequence, but the rest of them are taught in person on the Bloomsburg campus. It's a 58 credit program over 5 semesters. So the nice thing is that you're done in 5 semesters. I know some programs might be a little bit longer. So you go, fall, spring, summer, fall, and then you graduate in the spring, you finish in the spring. We have extensive course offerings that I think, we really take pride in the fact that our courses cover a wide, like pretty much all of the standards that ASHA is looking for. And we really have practically, all of the areas are 3 credit courses. So you might look at some other programs where some of these like voice disorders or fluency disorders are only 2 credits or 1 credit, or maybe it's an elective. All of our students take all of our courses and they're all 3 credits. So you're getting some good in-depth knowledge in every one of these areas. So we've got fluency, craniofacial disorders, motor speech disorders, and we have an AAC course that also includes autism. So it's currently now autism and augmentative alternative communication. Most of the courses are offered during the day, at least in the first semester. It's all during the day, and then we have some evening courses just because we do have an operating clinic, so we need to have students in clinic during the day. As I said, it was 5 semesters plus 1 to 2 winter sessions. So you might do a second winter session if you need hours and you're going to do student teaching, and we need to incorporate some extra weeks in there. So 4 of those semesters are going to be on campus, and then your last one is off campus. And the nice thing about our externship program is that, or our externship semester, is that you are totally off campus. So you don't need to come back to campus for any coursework. So our students oftentimes will move home so they can save some money. They don't have to rent their apartment anymore. Or, if you've had this like burning desire to move to Florida and we have a place in Florida that we can do an externship with, then you can move to Florida your last semester because you don't really need to come back to campus for classes. So that's one of the nice things about our program, is that you have that last semester to kind of go anywhere that you can get a placement. We had a student go one year to Montana. Her parents moved while she was in her grad program. And so she said, I'd really like to get out to Montana and be with my parents. And so we found her a spot in Montana and she went. So that's another advantage to that. This is just a kind of quick review of our course offerings. So your first fall semester, you would have some of the courses that really are more geared towards the younger children. And that's because we have you right away into clinic, and the bulk of the clients you're going to see in our clinic are going to be younger children. As I said, we do have some adults as well, but as a first-year student, you're usually going to get paired up with a client who's younger. So we have language disorders in preschool children, the speech sound development disorders, our augmentative alternative communication and autism course. And then the introduction to clinic is where you're going to start to get some experience right away working with clients in the clinic. And then in the winter, we're going to do the online course with for multicultural issues. So that's a great course to kind of get you. And again, that's a 3-credit class. And it really hits the aspects of like bilingualism and, not only different cultures, but also, linguistic diversity too. And how do you deal with children who maybe speak 2 languages, and we have to decide whether they have a disorder or just a language difference. So we'll address those issues in that class. And then in the spring, again, you're going to take your clinical practicum 1, and then also the neuroscience course, the language disorders in school-age children, and the research and communication disorders class. And then in the summer, you can see we have stuttering treatment and counseling, voice and resonance, aphasia, and another clinic opportunity in the summer. And the way we do the clinics in the spring, and then the spring you might do either clinic or the school, and then we flip it in the fall. So the next fall, you also do a clinical practicum. So if you were in the clinic in the spring, then you'll go to the school setting in the fall, and vice versa. And again, we have you'll notice that the courses here now are mostly like geared towards adults. So you're ready to go out your next semester to probably work in a medical facility. So we have our adult courses that kind of come right before you go out. So you're just fresh off of those courses for going into that setting. And we offer 2 certifications to work in the schools. Pennsylvania currently has 2 different ones. They have a teacher certification, and they also have a ed specialist certification. So and we are qualified to give both. So that's one nice thing about Bloomsburg. Other programs, they might only give the ed specialist certification. So the nice thing about the level 1 teacher certification is that you can add certificates onto that. So for example, if you ever wanted to be an ESL teacher and you took the 4 sequential courses for that certification, you can add that onto your teacher. You'll actually have a teacher certification, and you could be an ESL teacher at some point if you wanted to switch careers or serve in a dual capacity like that. You also, if you ever wanted to move up and say, I want to be a supervisor of special education, you would already have your level 1 teacher certification, and you'd be able to do that. You'd be able to add that certification onto that. So that's the advantage of getting that teacher cert versus just the ed specialist. But for some students, they say, look, I know I'm never going to work in the school. I don't want that. I only want to do the ed specialist. So they don't necessarily then have to do a student teaching rotation. That's really the only difference between the 2. And then again, in the spring, you would have your externship placements at a medical or school. So kind of continuing from the winter into the spring. And then in the spring, you would graduate. Our student outcomes, again, I mentioned that we have, this is 98%. So maybe that's 98 point something, right? So between 98 and 99. We also have a 100% program completion rate. So this is an important statistic here, because, what we're saying here is that 100% of our students complete the program in the time that we tell you you're going to complete the program. So it's not like you get into the program and we say, oh, you have to do an extra semester, or we get our students through in the 5 semesters that we advertise. So that's what that data point represents there. And then the praxis pass rate is 93.3%. So this is the number of students who in a given year pass. So it could be that we had students who a couple of students who maybe didn't pass, they passed the next time, but maybe it was into the next year. So we'll catch that on the next year. So this is just within the year that it was. We do it by year, I guess I should say. So it's not to say that students don't pass the next time. You can take it as many times as you want. And most of our students, if they don't pass the first time, they do pass the second time. This is just, as you probably, again, you're looking for a graduate school in speech language pathology because you know it's a good, decent career, but it also pays well. And so this is just some of the industry averages here for how much you might expect to work. And again, these are mean wages. So in the elementary and secondary schools, you can see that the wages are lower, but keep in mind that that's for usually a 9-month or 10-month position. You have the summers off. So that's why it's probably relatively speaking the same if you look at the other ones being 12-month positions. But the highest, the highest salaries are going to be those that are in home health or nursing care facilities in general.
Yeah, this is one of the few fields where you can make a big difference while also having a fairly high income. Again, we talked about this earlier in the return on investment. Your return on investment in the SLP program is going to be very high. So this is a good time to be getting into this field.
Sure. And again, you can see by the numbers here too, 60,920 in the elementary and secondary schools. So that represents roughly half. So usually it's around right around 50% of all SLPs work in schools. And then the other half work in these other positions. But that's why, for us, we feel it's important to train our students to be able to go out and work in any one of these settings. And the nice thing is you're getting that school experience here too, because again, half of all of our students are going to end up working in the schools. So we want to make sure you get plenty of experience there. Grad assistantships. Do you want me to talk about that,
Yeah.
Tom?
No, I'm happy to do this one. So, one of the things, again, I've talked a lot about this already, but in the return on an investment. So one of the ways to help offset the cost of your graduate degree is through the form of graduate assistantships. So at Commonwealth CU-Bloomsburg, we have a lot of GA opportunities for students. Some grad assistant opportunities exist within the communication sciences and disorders department. So that would be in the speech language pathology program, but there are also grad assistant opportunities across the university, right? There are a number of departments across campus that hire GAs. And so, and I should have started with this. If you're not familiar with what a GA is, it's a part-time position on campus where, if hired, you will receive a tuition waiver for, I want to say 2/3 of your credits, and then you also get a paycheck. It's a great opportunity. Again, what's nice is the convenience is everything is right there, on campus. Regardless of what your GA position is, you're going to be learning a lot of, there's going to be a lot of good professional development, especially in SLP. I would imagine that there, things like interpersonal skills and communication skills and counseling skills, those things are all going to be very important. And you're going to do that in virtually any GA that we offer. And again, there are plenty. We have some GA positions that go unfilled. So that's one of the things to keep in mind is that, again, just making your investment in your graduate degree that much more lucrative is the fact that oftentimes students are able to secure GA positions. We normally start to post these January, February, around that time of the year on our website, and it'll look just like a job posting, to be like a position, the department, and the role. And you'll see a whole bunch listed there. So, the GA position is always something I would strongly recommend, looking into if you're serious about coming to CU-Bloomsburg. Dr. Scarpino, did you have anything to add about the GA positions within your department?
Sure. Yeah, I do. So I actually, as I'm talking to potential graduate students, sometimes people will email me and we'll have a direct, Zoom call or, back and forth with email. And if you're someone that we really want to come badly here, I can offer you a graduate assistantship, when we offer you admittance to the program, if you fill out an application and say, yeah, I'd like to do that. So one of the nice things is that that you're accepted into the program and that you've been given, for example, we're giving out 10-hour GA positions, which means you work for 10 hours, as Tom said. And then for that 10-hour assistantship, you would get 6 credits at the 6 grad credits paid for, which is really about half of your tuition at the first semester. And then as long as you keep up your grades, that oftentimes, when I make that offer to you, that stays with you through the 4 semesters that you're on campus. So that's a big, I think, savings in terms of your investment into the program, and it's something that I think maybe some other programs are not able to offer that kind of support to students. So if you're at all interested in, and let me just tell you a little bit about like my grad assistants currently. We have an ASHA CAA visit tomorrow. They're coming to look at our facilities, and just as part of our accreditation process. And so I had students today helping me like organize workrooms. They were creating last minute, like our list, making sure our list of all the assessments that we have available to students to use in the clinic, that my list was complete for me. At the same time, they were doing some grading of quizzes for some of my first year students. The second year students were grading the quizzes for me. I also had them prepping some materials for my class this afternoon, making me some copies and things like that. So you could do, any number of things that a professor has to do in the day-to-day, but you're kind of just, again, you're acting as the assistant to them and helping them with all those. So it's a nice way to get kind of it, firsthand experience too, to see like, well, what is it like? Maybe I have some students who say, I think I might like to be a professor someday. And, it gives you a nice first-hand look at what professors do other than just teach.
No, that's a great point. So when you come to Bloomsburg, and one of the things you have to keep in mind is obviously this is not an online program. This is residential. This is taught at the Bloomsburg campus. And Dr. Scarpino, could you please advance to the next slide? So the residential experience is something that's going to be important. It certainly is not going to be nearly as important as the academic experience, but you're going to spend 2.5 years here, right? So this is going to be something that you want to weigh in when making a decision. So our campus is, certainly don't take my word for it, but it is beautiful. It is very consistently ranked among the nicest in Pennsylvania. This, most recent year was ranked the third nicest campus in PA. A lot of dining opportunities exist on campus, whether it's, Chick-fil-A or Qdoba or Subway or Bento Sushi. There's a number of options there. There's a Starbucks and a Dunkin' Donuts. So regardless of where you fall on the spectrum of Starbucks or Dunkin', we've got something for everybody there. And I would imagine as a grad student, you're probably going to want some caffeine as you're working well into the night, working on, projects for Dr. Scarpino's,
Well, it's also if you're a faculty member, you need that caffeine, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. Nothing wrong with that. And then there's the rec center. I know that's, one of the things is, mental and physical health. And, so we have a beautiful rec center here on campus. The university library remains to be seen how often you'll be checking books out from the library, but at a minimum, it is a great place to study and get some work done. Coincidentally, our Starbucks is located in the library. And there is a grad student lounge as well. So, you'll be among other grad students who are prepping for an exam. It could be MBA students, it could be, audiology students, it could be from a number of different programs, but you'll find a strong graduate student community here. And then same thing, health, wellness, and safety support, diversity, equity, inclusion, two tenets of a Bloomsburg experience, and things that we've invested in heavily because those are important. So you'll be supported, and you will find belonging while you're at CU-Bloomsburg without question. Dr. Scarpino, if you go to the next slide, please. So housing. So you do have some on-campus and off-campus housing opportunities as a grad student. So there's no expectation that you live in residence halls. You've been there, you've done that. So the places you see listed here are apartments that are on campus. And then, with Bloomsburg being a very traditional college town, the university, was built first in 1839, and then the town has populated around it. So everything you need as a student is well within walking distance. That also means that most of the buildings surrounding campus are student-based housing options. So really, no matter where you're living in a place that's very convenient and close to campus, while also being close to downtown and the main street and what have you. But there are a lot of opportunities for you to, live in a graduate student or an upperclassman student community as well. That, a lot of those students are going to be in very similar positions as you. They're going to have similar responsibilities, kind of closer to walking across the graduation stage. So again, you're going to find belonging. You're going to find a strong community here at Bloomsburg. Can you go to the next slide, Dr. Scarpino? And that is it. So I know one of the things that we generally get quite a bit of questions about is the application and the admission process. Dr. Scarpino, would you be able to walk us through the application and admission and kind of what you're looking for in a competitive applicant?
Sure. Um, so we do have our applications are done through CIDCAS. So if you're not familiar, certainly you could reach out and we could help you like navigate that. But all the applications would be sent through CIDCAS. What we do not require the GRE. That's a question that a lot of people ask. So we do not require that. Basically, we're looking for your transcript, a resume, and then we ask for a one-page kind of just a one-page kind of narrative telling us why you would be a good candidate for our program, what made you want to go into speech language pathology, and try to sell yourself. Why should we pick you over the next candidate? We are starting to review applications. Our deadline is February 1st, but the sooner you get your application in, the sooner your application will be reviewed. And so for those students who have a very high GPA, in addition to having, some other nice, maybe volunteer activities on their resume, or just, seems like this is a candidate we want, this is a student we want to come here, we certainly will offer you admission well before maybe even the February 1st deadline. So it's in your best interest, if you want to find out sooner that you got it admitted, certainly get your application in early, because again, we're going to start reviewing applications as they come in. Then again, as I said, the deadline is February 1st, and we make our decisions after that, usually by spring break, so right around the first week of March. And then you have until April 15th to make your decision or your commitment to the school of your choice, and we're hoping that that's Bloomsburg. I don't know if we also ask, I'm sorry, we do require 3 letters of recommendation. And let me just talk about that for a minute. We really recommend that you get letters from people who know you well. And while that might be the manager at Burger King who knows you because you've been there for 3 years working, that's probably not your best choice for a graduate school recommender. So we want to hear from people who kind of know how you're going to perform as a student. And so it's best to try to get some of your instructors to write you those letters, because when we see a letter from an instructor, we say, okay, this person knows the rigors of a master's program and they're recommending the student, so they must know that the student is going to be able to do the work. That being said, I'm not just, I don't want to dissuade you from getting a recommendation from someone who might really know you well, and it's somebody that you did an internship with over a summer. Well, that would be, if it's related to speech language pathology, that certainly would be somebody that we'd be interested in hearing from too. How enthusiastic were you while you were there, and what kinds of activities did you do, and were you dependable and reliable? So those are all kind of things that we want people to talk about in their letters. So the best thing I can recommend to you is that it's somebody who knows you well, not somebody just is going to say, yeah, she got an A in my class and participated. That doesn't tell us very much. We want to hear a little bit more about you as the candidate. So think about those people that you're asking for those letters from, and hope that they can, or ask them please to write something that's very unique to you. I don't think I have anything else about admissions.
No, I think you covered a lot of that. Do you have any information on like what type of GPA you might be looking for, the types of classes that you would prefer that a qualified applicant has taken by the time they apply, that type of information?
Sure. So as far as GPA, the minimum GPA required by the graduate school, so anybody who comes to Commonwealth University Bloomsburg is required to have a 3.0 GPA. And then beyond that, we're really, again, looking at, well, what's our pool of applicants? So it's hard to say, what the minimum is we would take. Depends on just who, what the GPAs are of all of our applicants. So if we have a lot of really, really high GPAs, We might, the lowest GPA we might get one year is a 3.4, maybe a 3.5. Other years we've had 3.2s, and I'm going to tell you that I think every year of one student who kind of came in last minute. She got offered because somebody didn't show up on day one. So we went down our wait list and we offered her a spot on day two. And she moved herself to Bloomsburg and got in the program. And she had, I believe, like a 3.2 GPA. And she was one of the best students we've ever had come through the program. So it's, we're not just looking for the very high GPAs. We're looking for students who are enthusiastic, motivated, really disciplined to come and do the work and, really puts forth their best efforts. So while GPA is important, it's not, we don't set it as you must have a GPA of 3.5 or higher to get in our program. So I would encourage you, if you meet that GPA minimum of 3.0, please apply. And I will say too, we've had instances where we've had people with a 2.95, and they've applied. And so there is a possibility that we could try to seek a waiver from the graduate school if you have a extenuating circumstance. We certainly look at people's, transcripts and say, gosh, here's somebody, maybe I remember a student who said, her first 2 semesters she spent in finance, which is probably about as different as speech language pathology as you're going to get. She decided after her second semester that it was just not for her, but her grades kind of showed that she was just not very enthusiastic about that major. So unfortunately, those grades stuck on her transcript. But what we saw afterwards was that she really did so much better once she got into a major that she enjoyed and that she felt like was going to be her life's work. So in that case, we certainly look at that and say, well, would that be the reason for the lower GPA? And this is somebody who kind of got it together and is doing great now. So again, we don't put a whole lot of emphasis on the GPA, but certainly, if you have a high GPA, well, that's all the better for you, I guess. Did you ask me something else? I'm sorry. About the GPA.
Yeah, the GPA. And did you talk about the number of students that typically are in a cohort, the amount of students you typically offer admission to, those types of information?
28. We have 28 in our cohort, typically. So that's what we're looking for. And we offer, again, we could potentially offer admission right up until the first day of classes. So we like to have our cohort settled, but as you would probably imagine, people get put on wait lists, and then as they're called off of a wait list, they might say, oh, I'm going to switch to this school because it's closer to me, or it's in my state and I would rather go there. So at the very last minute we might have an opening. So if you don't get in right away, you go on a wait list or something, we do encourage students to please tell us if you want to stay on the wait list, because very real possibility that you're going to get into the program. So not to be ever discouraged about anything like that. I'm just trying to think about, sometimes people, there are rumors out there sometimes about different programs, about, oh, how many students do they take from their own program? And we don't really look for any, we don't have any set numbers regarding how many Bloomsburg students we're looking for and how many students from outside the program we're looking for. So if it ends up that all of the best candidates in our applicant pool are from Commonwealth University Bloomsburg, then that's what we get. If it turns out that half of them are from Bloomsburg and half are from other schools, then that's what our cohort is. So I would say generally it's about half and half. Usually it's about half our students are from Bloomsburg and half from other universities.
Great. Are there any questions from the group and any questions from the audience? Anything you may be wondering as we kind of come down to the wire of the event here? Let's see. I'm wondering if your speech language and hearing clinic serves the community. That's a great question.
Do you let me just clarify that. Do you mean are the clients from the local community? Is that what you're asking?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly that's it. So we get referrals from local doctors for the kiddos who need, they think they need an evaluation. We certainly, because we have an audiology clinic too, we do serve a lot of the elderly population in Bloomsburg and surrounding areas who come for hearing aids. And then oftentimes, maybe they'll come also if they need any kind of intervention as a result of stroke or something like that. They know we're here. But yeah, we do certainly and a lot of it is word of mouth. I mean, people find us because they know that, again, doctors refer, because we take insurances. We're on the list of providers for those insurance companies. So local people. So, yeah, we have quite a few people from Bloomsburg and surrounding communities as well.
Yes, yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Dr. Scarpino, what are some of your favorite classes to teach? I know you probably have taught a wide variety. What are some of the ones that you enjoy the most?
Oh, well, I would say my two favorite classes are speech sound disorders because that's really my area of expertise. So I just, it's more than just articulation therapy. It's a very interesting field, a part of the field, I should say. And we know that there are a lot of kids who have speech sound disorders that end up having difficulties with reading. So that's my other favorite class is my school age language class, where we really talk a lot in that class also about literacy and children with dyslexia. So we as speech language pathologists play a huge role in remediating kids with kids who have dyslexia or difficulty reading, because dyslexia really is an auditory problem, as unlike what most people think. It's not a visual problem. It's an auditory problem, and it's a problem with hearing the individual sounds in words, and that's really right up our alley in what we do. So a lot of what I focus on is helping kids who have oral language problems who that then actually result in them having difficulty in school and participating in academics because of difficulty reading. So those kiddos who are younger and are not saying all their speech sounds correctly end up being behind by the time they get to kindergarten. And so when they're starting to map those sounds to letters to learn to read, and they don't have those sounds, it really puts them at a disadvantage. So those are the two favorite courses. I guess the other one I'd have to mention, so I do have three, I guess. The multicultural course is new for us this year. So we felt like, ASHA's really pushing a lot of the DEI and multiculturalism. And so I, have always infused that into some of our clinic seminar courses, but I'm excited that it's a whole 3-credit course now. And my research has focused on the development of speech sounds in children who are bilingual Spanish English speaking. And so I'm really excited. And I always, like to talk about, again, how we differentiate disorders from differences when we're working with kids who speak more than one language. So we talk in that class about if you're a monolingual speech pathologist, how do you work with kids who are bilingual, and how do you train interpreters to work with you, and things like that. So yeah, that's my other favorite class, I guess.
And then last question. So then Dr. Scarpino, can you talk a little bit about the some of the labs and the facilities that exist at Bloomsburg, something that students might be engaged in during your time at Bloom?
Sure. So we do have pretty extensive work areas for students, nice big areas with lots of computer access. So students come here and just kind of hang out in the work. I shouldn't say hang out, they do work, but they do visit too in between their sessions, which is nice. I do appreciate seeing the camaraderie among our students. So we've got a student workroom where we have a full kitchen, I guess you could say. We've got a refrigerator, microwave, so students bring their stuff and they just kind of make their lunches, etc. And then we have a whole room of just, gosh, every kind of toy imaginable and all kinds of, intervention activities and games. And then we have a whole room of just all of our testing materials, books, library, things like that. And then we have the spell lab. My lab is the speech, language, and literacy lab. And in that room, we have computers that are, and all of our computers actually have SALT analysis software. So you do learn to use the systematic analysis of language transcripts, which is the SALT program. Some of you might be using it undergrad, to analyze speech and to analyze language samples. So all of our computers are equipped with that software for students to use. And then also in the Spell Lab, I share that space with the AAC, the augmentative communication instruments there. So we've got iPads and other AAC devices, switches that students, can gain access to and use that room to program their devices for their courses or for their clients. And then we do have the voice lab where we have a nasometer so that we use that for testing kids who have resonance disorders. And we also have spirometers in there. We've got a computer in there for using with a computer program for voice analysis. So the CSL program, and then we also use PROD to analyze for voice disorders. So that's, and then we've got, go ahead.
And I should say too, so one of the things that might be helpful is there is a video tour of some of the facilities that Dr. Scarpino was referencing. It's actually narrated by Dr. Scarpino, but you can get a visual, for reference, if that's helpful. It's on the SLP website. So I would recommend taking a look at that as you're kind of doing a deeper dive into the grad program here. But either way, thank you everybody for joining us. Again, whether you're watching live, you're watching a recording, we do appreciate your time. Please do not hesitate to contact Dr. Scarpino or myself. We work for you and we're happy to do so. And we look forward to hearing from everybody in the future. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.